Hello, everyone. Please, if I could ask everyone, please take your seats. Thank you. Yes, all heroes welcome. Thank you. Oh, this is just crazy. Please, everyone sit down. All heroes, please sit. No one needs to be rabbling ravenously. We like to joke around here. Please stop coaxing a commotion, if you will. Thank you. Please be seated. As you all know, this is the band meeting. So I would like the 3 rune blades to please gather your things and just leave. You're all banned. Nope, yep, even you, Viscerai. Oh, Briar, 100%. Yes, Briar, you know you're banned. Please change. You've been banned. You can just go. Okay, and I think that's it. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and we'll reconvene in like 6 months. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hometown TCG. You guys know me, my name is Josh, and that's right, as you saw from the intro, we're tackling a pretty big topic today. We are talking balance, and that's going to be an overview on a ton of stuff, guys. But before we get into everything, if you haven't checked out the video from Monday yet, you got to go watch it. We're giving away a sick Hometown TCG playmat to one of you guys. Watch that video and learn how to win that mat, and then come back here, watch this one. We're giving away on Friday, so on Friday I will choose a winner. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the topic of today's video, and today we're going to be talking balance. What we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be focused around the current meta, kind of the history of Flesh and Blood up to the current meta, and then changes that can be made, and find out if Everfest Carnival, if the release of Everfest Carnival is going to solve any of these changes for us. So, I think balance and balance problems in Flesh and Blood, as far as the community is concerned, can be pretty well traced back to a high point during the Monarch set and the Calling Las Vegas and the eruption of Chain. Guys, Chain was an extremely powerful deck. If you didn't get a chance to play Chain back then, so much access to card advantage, so much access to be able to do so many things, set off so many triggers, and kind of have this flow where it's a very unidirectional gameplay, and it didn't necessarily feel like it mattered so much what your opponent was doing. It wasn't super interactive. It was very kind of a one-sided game, and either you were able to do it and win the game, or you weren't. Now, by no means does this mean that that Chain or the deck was completely unbeatable, but the balance concern comes with a couple caveats here. The first concern is that a good portion of the meta, or a good portion of the player base, felt like they had to play Chain, and this led to 60+% of a player base playing one hero. That itself is kind of a problem. It doesn't create this wide variety of gameplay. It doesn't really lend to the creative deck builders or people trying to think outside the box. It kind of shoehorns people into one line of thinking. And the other side of that coin meant if you weren't one of the high percentage of people that were playing Chain, you had to build your deck or pick your hero specifically around the thought of beating Chain. So it was almost like you played Chain, or you played a deck just to beat Chain that maybe didn't play well into other heroes, maybe didn't do anything fun or interactive. It just beat Chain. And in LSS's eyes and the community's eyes, this was a problem. We want players to be able to pick from a large pool of heroes and feel competitive. Now let's get this out of the way right now. Let's just go ahead and just say this right away. This is a card game. There will always be heroes that are stronger than others. You will always have a meta. Now that meta will ebb and flow, it will move and it will shake, and it will change as sets are released and as new tech from the community comes out, but there will always be a defined meta, meaning there will always be a handful of heroes that are better than another handful of heroes, right? So we have to accept that and kind of move on, but the problem is when one hero is taking up over half the format, and the rest of the format is just there to beat that hero. That's no longer a pool, it's a one or the other choice. So during this time, there was a lot of outcry from the community about changes that needed to be made, and with the release of Tales of Aria, LSS pretty well answered the call. Now, there's some goods and bads to the bans that happened with the release of Tales of Aria, and you can go back and watch the Hometown TCG Town Hall, where we covered a lot of that. But let's just say what happened is they banned Duskblade, where they admittedly said, oh, we didn't playtest this enough. And while I think that's a very bad mistake to make, I gave them huge props for saying, hey, this was a mistake we made. We're owning it, and we're going to do better. And I said, that is what I like to see. I love that. And then they banned a card, Seeds of Agony, from Monarch. It was a big part of Chain's engine. They banned that card. They turned the card off. This was a very, very interesting fix to the scenario, and I think it solved it for the most part. But as we can see now, we've kind of shifted into another situation like that, where the community feels that they either have to play Briar or play to beat Briar. So we're trending towards that again, and with the release of Everfest Carnival, a lot of the community is saying, well, they'll just print things in Everfest Carnival that will beat Briar for us. They're just going to change Everfest Carnival to print cards that make Briar not as good and help us beat Briar, and then we'll be able to go on and live happy and free. But I don't know if that's possible, guys. If we think about the timeline for Everfest Carnival, we think about when LSS would have been able to get all of the data for Briar being played in these constructed events and in these constructed environments. By the time they got all that data, I would like to imagine that the Everfest Carnival was pretty well finished from a developmental standpoint and probably had started some semblance of the print process. And if this is the case, they can't exactly alter the set to give us an answer to Briar. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be any, and this doesn't mean they couldn't have seen this coming before they even started developing the Everfest Carnival. They could have said, oh, these are powerful heroes, let's start turning them off. Maybe they had an answer to Runeblade because Chain was strong and it will flow over. I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm saying it is unrealistic to think that they could pivot the entire set so last minute. So what does that mean for us as players? Well, that means there's a couple unique options on the table for us as players. The first option is to wait for more bans or something called an errata. Now, an errata is when they take a text on a card and they legally change the text on that card. They say, this attack printed says it does 2 damage. But the errata now says in the rulebook, this attack does 3 damage. And erratas are a slippery slope. You might have some cards that are printed in the old way where it says the attack does 2 damage, but all the new printings say 3. And if you're doing a draft and with new players feel like they have to have this rule book or this book of changes memorized. It gives me Dragon Ball Z flashbacks where I started my TCG career, and that is a scary, scary thought. The errata book for that game was like this thick, and it's a slippery slope to start going down. So I, for one, am against the idea of errating things. I am more for, but don't think it's a catch-all, the idea of banning things. And banning things comes with its own problems. Now, when we ban cards, we kind of put the quote from James White and his vision and LSS's vision for this game and this company at risk. Because I believe the quote is something like, to pull people together under the umbrella of playing and investing in amazing games. They've done a great job with that so far, but if we start banning things, that opens up this weird wormhole from the investment, from the market standpoint, where you kind of have the ability to flip a switch and essentially tank an asset to 0. So it's a weird interaction there. And then more importantly, from the player side of things, we like to bring in new players. We like to keep them involved. And I am very, very firm on the fact that if you ban a high-end, powerful, or valuable card, more often than not, you're going to hurt the new player that got lucky enough in their sealed pool at their release event to pull that card. They fell in love with Flesh and Blood. They felt that feeling that we've all felt when we pulled our first, whether it's a legendary or our first cold foil or first fable, whatever it is you felt, they felt that feeling, and then it feels like they just had that feeling ripped away from them. It's a dangerous, dangerous place to go. So as much as I like bans over erratas for a play experience standpoint, bans are still not good. They're sloppy, they're messy, they get a lot of stuff kind of mixed up, and again, it hurts that new player pool. And I've mentioned before, as FaB vets, it's our job to really curate and cultivate that new player pool. We want to have their best interest in mind. So that kind of leaves us with this weird, it's kind of unsolved and unanswered. Everfest could solve the problem, but it might not. And this is where I'd like to stress, I think it's going to fall on us. It's going to fall on us, kind of the more hardcore FaB players, the people who play, 4 or 5 times a week, that are always looking for something new and interesting to play. They're always looking to get an edge over their opponent and get across the finish line and get those wins. it really falls upon us. We have to start thinking outside of the box with the release of Everfest. We have to see the lines. We have to know that Briar might still be a problem. You know, these Rune Blades, they might still be a problem, but we got to see if we can go above and beyond, and before anything gets banned, before anything gets errated, before any of these situations would feel bad come up, we better scrape the bottom of the barrel, guys. We better bend our brains. We better dig deep in our minds and find a way to beat these decks. I, for one, am super stoked. I can't wait. I think Everfest is going to be a really good set, but I do want to manage your guys' expectations. Remember, they probably haven't printed a direct answer to, you know, to the Briar deck or things that people think they want right away. So let's just be ready for that. Let's get excited about the opportunity for a new card pool to get over the top and to beat these decks. I, for one, can't wait. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think is going to come in Everfest to help us beat these decks. If you think they're going to print something, if you think they're not going to be able to print something, I'd love to hear what your guys' opinions are. Again, go back and watch that video. Try to win this playmat. I want to appreciate all you guys hanging out so much. We're racing to, oh my god, I almost forgot the sub count. We're racing to 4,000 subs. That's right. We're racing to 4,000 subs. I'm so close. Guys, if you're here, if you haven't clicked it yet, click the sub button. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'll stop rambling. Until next time, my name is Josh. We'll see you around. Whoa!